All right, let's get this party started. Welcome, everyone. It has been a long time since I've gone live on YouTube, and today I wanted to do a prep update, how things have been going, talk about how many weeks out I am, what's in store, and kind of give my close followers on YouTube more of the behind the scenes on what is happening with me with this prep and how I'm feeling, and open it up for a little Q&A discussion as well. So, hey Mary Beth, how are you doing? Oh, my feed must be pretty delayed for some reason. Live chat. Here we go. Cool. So, yeah, if you have any questions that you think of or you want to ask, feel free to just let me know. But I wanted to just jump into 2022. So, I started off this year, got labs done. My hormones were getting better, but we still needed to work on my TSH, needed to go up a little bit, or TSH needed to come down. My T3 and T4 needed to come up a little bit. My progesterone was still a little bit low. Estrogen was actually a little bit low, and everything else was pretty good. I never have issues with my liver, with my cholesterol, so those were great things to consider. And we were in a pretty good caloric surplus. I think the highest my calories got were about 2,300 or 2,400 calories. I hit 305 grams of carbs at one point. Hey, Nicole. And through January to about April is when I stayed in a caloric surplus. And we added in a few different substances, terkesterone being one of them. David has a video on his YouTube channel. We go through terkesterone, what the experience was, the lab results. I will say I don't think it did a whole lot for me, but I was also fixing my gut at the same time. So, as you can imagine, like starting off this year, my mindset was I need to be 100% healthy before I start a prep. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it through a prep, because that's what happened to me in 2021. If you followed my season last year, I had some really bad metabolic issues, couldn't drop weight. We had to rely on some thyroid supplementation pretty heavily towards the end of my prep. And it still wasn't lean enough. So, either way, Mary Beth, I can definitely go into that. Um, it's never too late to get started on your fitness journey, number one. But number two, when it comes to putting on muscle and your genetic potential, it does start to get limited as you age and get older. And that is literally just part of life and the way that the body is built. So, making sure you're eating enough protein, adding in something that would be a growth promoter like growth hormone would be very helpful for you, but I know a lot of people maybe aren't necessarily looking for that. So, we can dive into that a little bit more. But either way, this season for me, I was actually planning on waiting to compete towards the end of the year at big nationals in Florida. Well, David started prep in February, I think, and he was going to do Junior USA's, which we both love that show. We love Charleston. And so we started his prep, and I told him I didn't want to prep while he's prepping. I wanted to support him, help him have a really good prep with his new coach, Austin. This was the first prep they'd had together, and go from there. So I was, doing my thing. I counted my calories, did all that stuff. Hey, internet dummies, I will definitely answer that for you. And we hit a point where I was like, I think I need like a mini cut. I just want to tighten up a little bit. And he's like, okay, we can do that. And we started doing that. David started to get leaner. And then it was like, why don't we try for an earlier show? I'm like, okay. But I want to just focus on getting lean for the summertime, focus on my balance with work. We've been growing our YouTube channels, which you guys know that. We've been growing our Instagram, client coaching businesses. So we've had a lot of moving pieces. And to me, prep was like fourth on the list at that time. So I started just cutting down. I still train hard. I've been training legs 4 days a week for about 9 months now, and that's all I train. I've been downsizing my upper body, which you can kind of tell like my upper body is not as muscular as it used to be. And for the wellness division, that's what I wanted. I had been given feedback specifically from a couple head judges that said, your lower body and your shape is great, but your upper body is on that border of being too big. And if you look at the Olympia winner, Francielli, she is very petite. She's actually shorter than me, very small upper body, very muscular legs. So I'm like, okay, I hate to do this because I love training upper body. I love training shoulders and back, but I'm going to do this. And so about April, like I said, is when I started a mini cut. And we added in a little bit more cardio. I was still not on any anabolic substances at that time, just doing things naturally. Body was responding great. I think I ended up dropping, my heaviest weight was like 152. And I think I got down to 142 or 143 without any extra substances besides my normal day-to-day supplementation, maybe a little bit of caffeine. That was about it. So body was responding great. And we're like, okay, how about we push for North Americans being the national show? So now you guys know I'm aiming for North Americans in September. So that puts me about 7 weeks out from North Americans right now. So I will be doing my warm-up show to requalify in about 3 weeks. And I'm still not announcing it officially. A few of my close friends know because they're either attending or they just love the sport, and I know they're not going to I don't know. I didn't want a lot of publicity around it this year, even though I know you guys love to hear what show athletes are doing and you like to follow the journey. I just needed to be more intro and conservative with my prep this year. And I wanted to make it more about my own experience, if that makes sense. So, going forwards, I have had a few little bumps. We had to increase cardio, decrease food a little bit. Right now, I'm actually pretty moderate. I'm at about 1,300 calories a day, which that's pretty moderate for a prep. I've had my preps get as low as 900 calories a day with refeeds, of course. So you'd get a refeed every few days, but I'm not to that point right now. And yeah, we're just we're putting in the work now. So honestly, I felt really good. There's been a couple days this past week where I was just starting to get fatigued. I've been doing caffeine first thing in the morning, fasted cardio, and then around 4 o'clock after the gym when I start working again, I'll do my good old cup of coffee here. So I'm not an advocate of doing caffeine after 2 o'clock, but for me lately, I've not been having the issues with caffeine like I've had in the past. So I've been getting about 6.5 to 7.5 hours of sleep a night, which for me is really good. In preps, I don't sleep very well. Normally my sleep would be 3 to 4 hours broken, tossing and turning, sweating all night. But I started wearing earbuds at night, putting a face mask on. We have blackout curtains. I have a really strict nighttime routine, and I think that's helped me immensely. I also do go outside first thing in the morning to do my either cardio outside or I'll do it on the treadmill. It's been raining here in Atlanta, so the outside walking has subsided at this moment in time, and that's okay. But yeah, I would say from a physicality standpoint, and I'll show you guys my current physique here in a second, I am really, really happy with how this prep has been going, how my mindset is so much clearer, so much more improved, and I attest this to taking time off to focus on my personal development, focusing on life beyond being a bodybuilder. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, you know that. Like, I talk about all the time, like, how I'm not just a bodybuilder and I don't define myself as being a bodybuilder, but bodybuilding is a sport I enjoy doing. So, that being said, today I checked in, but yesterday was my birthday. I turned 30, and my weight today was an all-time prep low of 137, and I am like really happy with how we're doing right now. So thanks, Fior. I actually do game, which is why I have this set up. So either way, I will go ahead and show you guys. Let's see if I can get this to show. Nope, we'll go back here. So give me 1 second and I'm going to boom, 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 boom. Oh, I don't want this. We're deleting. So I would have people calling me as I'm doing a live stream. That's the story of my life. Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate it. Yesterday was really chill. Being in prep on your birthday, some people don't think it's really fun. But for me, I was just like, I'm living the life. And David gave me a little bit of a refeed. So that was nice. And I went to Sephora. I got a pedicure, which I don't usually do. And yeah, it was fun. So let's see. Why are these not refreshing? Nicole, you have a capsular contracture in your breast. So, oh man. Well, here's the thing. Get it taken care of sooner rather than later. Don't learn from my experience where I waited way too long to get mine fixed. At least you know. And here's the thing. As long as you keep eating enough protein, you're not going to lose a lot of muscle mass. I would really focus on the long term in your health being your priority and knowing that you can still build muscle, you can still get on a stage, you can do what you want to do, and it might be one little setback, but it's happening for a reason. So, take it for what it is, and I would get it taken care of as soon as you can so that you don't have to worry about it, honestly. Because speaking from personal experience, like 2019, when we found out I had a capsular contracture, it was like brutal. So that's something I would never wish upon anyone. And knowing that, like, just do the best you can. Okay. Thank you, Jessica. And like I said, I feel like for myself, I've just done like a 180 when it comes to my mindset, my life. I actually just had a podcast I listened to this morning. I usually listen to podcasts while I'm walking, and the one that I was listening to was actually Steve Jobs, and he was basically saying that, you know, when you are going through something, all the dots are going to connect at some point. But sometimes we don't see what we're going through in that moment in time until later. And, that is what it is. So being able to recognize that and see that happening in your life and then saying, okay, I can handle this. I can move forward through this. It makes a huge difference. And that's kind of where I'm at, like with competition prep, is like I wanted to be a pro so bad that that's all that I focused on last year was like, I need to turn pro. I need to turn pro. And now it's more so I know that I have a great caliber physique, and I know that eventually I'm going to get there. It's just a matter of when. And so here's my current physique update. This was this morning at, I think, like 7:30 this morning. So one thing I want to notate is, for me, the biggest critique I got last year was my glutes needed to come up. So being able to see them from the front, obviously the back, and the side, the shape that I have now, I'm just like astounded by. If you would have asked me last week, like what I thought of my physique, I was just like, meh, it's okay. But now I finally see like my lines are coming through. I still need to get my hamstrings to come out a little bit more, which they will. And this line needs to be deeper. My ab lines still need to come out a little bit more, and my upper body is still leaning out. That's usually the first thing for me to lean out, is my upper body. So either way, that's where I'm at. And honestly, I'm just happy to keep going and see how things turn out. We're kind of ahead of the curve from where I've been in previous preps. And because I'm feeling good, we're going to keep pushing as best I can. I don't usually do HIIT training, but I will say I did HIIT training last week for 3 days post workout, and it actually felt like really good. I don't know why I have like a love-hate relationship with sprints, probably because I did track in high school, but it was like I liked the challenge and it felt really good. And I was a little bit more tired on those days, but then going into this week, I had a weight drop, and we ended up, like, I had a little refeed yesterday and ended up dropping a little bit again too. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And let's see, Ian. So I don't know my body fat percentage. I never check that. Honestly, I still need to get, ideally for wellness, at a national level show, the females are going to be about 8% to 10% body fat. So top females, honestly, like in wellness and figure, the conditioning is very similar. I don't care what someone tells you that, oh, well, it's like bikini. If you look at who is winning shows, wellness is hard. They are rewarding conditioning, they are rewarding muscle and size and structure, period. I know that they want to have it softer and look, but it's not going to happen until coaches start pulling in clients softer, and it's not happening right now. And Wings, thank you for joining. So like I said, my starting weight was 152. I'm now 137. And honestly, for women's categories, the weight doesn't really matter. I use it as a frame of reference to know how much muscle mass I have put on in the past few years. So since I've competed for 6 years, my first ever competition, I was 120 pounds. I'm going to have to pull up a picture for you guys because you're going to be like, what? So I was tiny, and I just wanted to compete at that point. It was like a goal of mine. I started doing bodybuilding as like this extreme weight loss measure, and I'm a small frame person. So for me getting on that stage, it was like, huh, so this is what this is like. But in the same sense, like, oh, here we go. Y'all are gonna be like, whoa, she came from a far away place. I'm gonna put these side by side so you can see the difference here. So this is my first ever figure show in 2015 that I weighed 120 pounds. And like I said, I now weigh 137 pounds. So it just goes to show like muscle mass and just putting on density, it does matter. But even if you look back at, like, say, I'll pull up my stage pictures. Oh, this one's funny. So this is where I was kind of critiqued that my upper body was borderline too big. So if you look at the photo on the right, that was Junior USA's 2020. And yeah, I have very shapely quads for sure. But even from my breasts, which are larger implants, you see the structure of my delts. They're very muscular, and you can tell it was coming from figure. So we went on a mission, and decided to start downsizing my shoulders. Even from last year, I can show you guys. I actually hate all my photos from last year. I was so like disappointed in myself, I guess, that I didn't get in first call outs and that I couldn't get lean enough, and it was just like not a not a good mindset, but I'm very grateful I had that experience, because if I wouldn't have had that experience, I don't think I would be where I am today. So let's see. Here we go. Aw, thank you, Mary Beth. I appreciate you. All right, so this is a side-by-side of, this was last year. Look at how much bigger my upper body looks. Now, I do think the bra was too big, and the way that the cut was made my upper body look bigger. So my new suit designer, Kitty's Bikinis, we are making sure that the suit's going to fit me perfect, make my upper body look smaller. And I mean, I'm posing better than I did last year too. So that makes a big difference. But either way, super exciting stuff. And it's actually funny. So if you look at, like, I was lean, but I was definitely bending way too far forward in this back pose. For comparison, this one is more aligned, but even then, I've still need to keep developing this left hamstring. So that's where I know I have a lagging point. So yeah. Does anyone have any questions on where I'm at for current prep and everything? I can follow up with some of the earlier questions. So Mary Beth, you're talking about like getting muscle in your 40s. It's definitely possible. And I will tell you, a lot of these masters competitors are extremely competitive because they've been training for 15 plus years. Even if they've been natural or enhanced, they've just got dense muscle mass. But if it's a goal you want to achieve, you can do it. You just got to make sure you're eating enough to grow, especially protein, because we need it for protein synthesis. And training with good intensity too. Form the correct movements that you're going to actually feel where you need them. It's a big part of it. So, let's see. Questions. I'm 5'3" and 3/4. I claim that. I'm almost 5'4". Training split. So I'm doing glutes, off day, glutes, off day, quads, glutes. Some of those get a little bit of hamstrings. Some of them I add in some calves. Some of them I add in some abs. Right now I'm still training the same. So I'm training 4 days a week. Glutes, off day, glutes, off day, quads, glutes. So let's see. Experience with testosterone. So like I said, the full-length video is on David's YouTube channel, and I highly recommend y'all go watch it. And honestly, I didn't feel much difference from it. I think it's more of a, what's the word I want? It gives you that brain effect that you think you're growing. But honestly, like, I can't directly say that it improved anything. And if you look at my labs, there was no direct correlation. I was on growth hormone, and my IGF-1 was elevated from the growth, but that's all I can really testify and saying. I can't claim that testosterone really does anything. The two best supplements that you can invest in are creatine and protein. That's it. So let's see. So if you're, it depends on what you like. I don't game a lot because of my schedule, but I've recently been getting into Valorant. I've played Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, League of Legends I suck at, but I want to get better. Placebo, thank you. That diet brain is kicking in. So, Overwatch 2 is coming out, but there's a lot of different games. Like, I play on PC, so it depends on what you have available to you. Mary Beth, pro cards are definitely attainable, and they are more attainable now than they were several years ago. Becky Clausen, one of the Olympia judges, she judges a lot of shows actually. She was talking to me about it, how people are always complaining about, oh, there's not enough pro cards, but at one point they were only giving out one pro card per division. So there's a lot of opportunity nowadays. Let's see. Where's the question? I just saw a different one. Average cost to compete. So I just did a YouTube video on this, so go check it out. I think it was like 4 videos ago. I've kept it very succinct, but I break down everything. So average cost for a national show is about $5,000 to $6,000. And that's coming from someone who's very conservative. I am a saver, not a spender. But in all reality, just making sure that everything was included into the total that could possibly be included. So, highly recommend you go check that out. I think I literally named it, what does it cost to compete? Hi, Ian. Thank you. I guess that's good. I don't really, some of these calculators that are out there, I don't really believe in. So I've never gotten like a DEXA scan or anything. Do I really need it? Meh. It's not like a thing that I need. Nicole, so that's a good question. Right now, my focus is getting a pro card, getting through this competition season, and my goal would be to step on a pro stage right away. So I feel like my shape and the current muscle density I have could carry me at a pro level. Do I know when my off season will start? Not really. But part of me would want to grow my quads a little bit more. And I might add in a little bit of back and shoulders here and there, just functional training. But I don't expect my split to change. I really am enjoying it. I've seen a lot of progress in the past 8 months doing it this way. So, for someone wanting to do wellness, you need to commit to growing your legs, period. Making sure you have some shape to your shoulders, a little bit of width to your back, but not a lot because you don't need it to overpower you. And wings. My intensity is always high. So if you follow me and I post my videos, like, or if you see me in person, I am an intense trainer in the gym. I usually don't talk to a lot of people. I have my headphones on, and I do take deload weeks, but my programming also does change. So it's not that I'm only doing hip thrusts a certain way or only doing deadlifts, only doing squats. I am modifying them intentionally based on the volume and the progressive overload practices that we have in place, but I've also been adding in a lot of additional glute shaping and volume work that I think has been a huge impact on my glutes. So honestly, like some days in the gym, when I'm in prep, I just put on really dark music, like grungy hard rock or like not quite screamo, but like borderline, and just like remind myself I have to fight for it. And that's something that's worked for me is like taking myself to that warrior status. But then there's other days I'll come into the gym and I know I need to be careful or I could get an injury. Today I actually did deadlifts. I had some additional like 3x30 kickbacks and like the glute pump stuff at the end. And I think I hurt my lower back because I was going a little too hard. So that's the risk that you have in prep too. And also, if someone's on anabolics, usually you're stronger, but it also can increase your risk of injury because you think you're invincible. So, Astronomy Philly, I miss him too. I was actually thinking about John the other day because it's weird. It's almost been a year since his passing. So this will be my first season. Well, I was with two other coaches prior to John, but this will be like my first big season without him, so it's really weird. But I definitely miss him. I keep in touch with Mary and the boys, see how they're doing, and Noah, their videographer. He's super cool if you guys don't follow him either. So, Fior, it sounds like you like the fighting games. I hope you enjoy those. Yeah, I do like 3 Days Grace, Linkin Park, Evanescence. I have a playlist on Spotify called Strong Sweet Caroline Workout, so there's a lot of random stuff on there. Brenda, does DHEA help with lean muscle and fat loss day? All right, so DHEA is kind of like the second mother hormone. So we have pregnenolone as the top, which produces DHEA. I am not a fan of supplementing DHEA unless you get a Dutch test or you get very intensive labs done to show that it is low. Because a lot of times people try to supplement it and it actually makes their hormones more out of whack because the trickle down effect goes into the testosterone, progesterone, estrogen. So depending on your symptoms, depending on what your doctor says as far as your sex hormones go, I don't start with DHEA ever. Any of my clients I work with, and I work with lifestyle as well as competition clients, we are focusing on overall hormone health, overall health as your well-being, your mental health. How are you feeling? Because a lot of times doctors don't even look at that stuff, and that is very impactful for what you can accomplish inside a gym and outside of a gym. So, like I said earlier, the most important supplements you could invest in for building lean muscle tissue, eating enough protein, and recovery. Honestly, getting enough sleep, stretching, making sure you don't get injured. So, Nicole, do I use anabolics in the off-season growing phase? What is my opinion on insulin? Okay. So, I will say from relative experience, I have done stints in the off-season, some with insulin, some without. I don't think it is necessary. This was more so when I was in figure. I was doing growth hormone with L-carnitine and insulin before the gym. Now I don't. When it regards to anabolics, running a mild cycle of, say, an Anavar for 5 to 10 milligrams for 8 weeks is plenty. Plenty. I hear horror stories of girls abusing drugs all the time. They don't get their labs done. Then what happens? So the androgens, like you said, they can get clogged and overloaded. If we don't clear out the system, what's going to happen? The receptors get saturated, and then you need to put more on top. And that's where you start to get the negative side effects, and people increase dosages or they pair it with more anabolics on top. Do you need that to grow? No. Does it help in an off season? It can, but you have to make sure everything else is in place too. Are you eating enough food as well as the proper nutrients to fuel your body? Are you recovering? Are you getting enough sleep, stretching, deep tissue? Are you avoiding alcohol and doing everything in your power to keep your liver healthy, your kidneys healthy? How is your gut? Are you having acid reflux, digestion issues, bloating? You look like you're pregnant. Like all of these pieces, if we aren't fixing them in the off season, adding in an anabolic is only going to exacerbate the issues. So then trying to build muscle, it doesn't necessarily help. I have also seen people, and can speak from relative experience, that just doing a growth inhibitor or growth promoter like a growth hormone off season as well as on season can help with growing lean muscle tissue. can help with speeding up the recovery. So we know there's a lot of elements involved here, and you need to be very mindful that even if you run a small dose of something in the off season, if you don't take enough time off between the off season to the on season, that carryover can prevent you from getting the most out of the anabolics later down the road. So I will recommend getting a testing kit. Primo is often faked. I am a big fan of Primo. I think it's a great substance when it's real. So even if it's somebody you trust, get a testing kit. Roid Test Kit is one that I've used in the past. Highly, highly recommend. Honestly, Anavar and Primo are two of the most common used in women. So, starting at 50 milligrams a week instead of 80 could be somewhere that you can look at. But like I said, I would test it because I have a feeling that it wasn't real, and that might be why you were starting to get side effects. So I'm not really interested in fighting games. That's not really my thing. Valorant's the closest to a fighting game that I would do. Okay. So Nicole, that's yeah, his test kit's good. So that being said, did you have labs run? Because if you did not, there could be something underlining with the way you are converting. And if that's the case, you do need to take it down. Or maybe you have something going on with your liver. Doing a liver detox might be a good idea too. I do that in the off season, no matter if I'm on or off of something. Actually, this is the healthiest my liver has been in my life. And I do like coffee enemas. I do a certain shake. Like, I think I was doing it for like a month straight. I would do this pressed greens shake in the morning every day. And at first it didn't taste good, but then it finally started to taste good once it was like, I know how to sweeten this now. But either way, those are a few things I can recommend to you. Obviously, I don't know your extreme, like your total situation. So hopefully that helps a little bit. But just, I would focus on the first things first, which you were saying, let me see, your capsular contracture. I would focus on getting that corrected first. And I would not recommend going on anything until after that's done, after you've recovered and healed. You will actually be super receptive to training in general coming out of surgery once you are healed. So that's something that I could recommend to you, is just focus on keeping yourself 100% healthy. When the timing is right to add in a substance, add it in. But just being really, really mindful. Interesting. So I don't hear a lot of people having issues with cream of rice bloating them. I don't know if you're just buying like the orange boxed one or if it's a different one, but that's very interesting because it could just be the glycemic index and the glycemic load is too high for you, depending on how many calories and carbs you're eating in a day. So I would do the growth. I'm not a doctor, so do not take this as medical advice. I would do the growth. I would not do VAR until you can train 100%, period. I would focus on healing BPC 157 because that'll also heal after doing antibiotics. It'll help with your gut. Doing growth, having a really good probiotic. One I can recommend is Just Thrive. I have a code Caroline 25, but that one is excellent for helping repopulate the gut. I use that post-surgery. Yeah, you have no need to add in the anabolics coming out of the surgery, in my opinion. But I'm about to wrap this up, you guys. I really have enjoyed this conversation. I need to go eat a meal, so that's the next priority for me. But if there's we got room for maybe one more question. We'll be glad to answer it. And I'm going to start doing these weekly, I think, if you guys like them. I'm going to save the video here on my YouTube channel, so you'll be having access to that, as long as I have a YouTube. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the positive receptivity on like everything that I've had going on. Kind of like it's like a rebranding, rebirth in itself. Um, yeah, just loving life. My pleasure, Nicole. And if you want to talk further or we want to get on a consult call, send me an email. We can talk about it a little bit further. strongsuitcaroline@gmail.com. Thank you, Fior, for tuning in and appreciate you as well. It definitely is a science, and it's taken me years to learn, but I also am grateful for people I've learned from. I learned from John. I learned from my husband, David, who's kind of a guru in this stuff. So if you guys don't follow his channel, highly recommend doing it. I play a big role in getting those videos up there, and we're coming up with different topics every week. So if there's like a specific topic on PEDs or reverse dieting or bulking female health, we've got a lot more coming out. So just send me a message or send David a message and let us know that you want to see that, and we'll be glad to put that out there for y'all. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a blessed